Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. This is Younas and I am here with a new topic, that is carbon dioxide transport in blood. Previously, we discussed the transport of oxygen in blood, how that transport of oxygen takes place, that have been discussed previously. Now we will talk about the transport of carbon dioxide. About the transport of carbon dioxide, again we have to talk about the amount of carbon dioxide per 100 ml and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Over here I have mentioned already, on the arterial side, if you people look at the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, that is for 40 millimeter of mercury. But just on the venous side, the partial pressure becomes 46 millimeter of mercury. Means there is a 6 millimeter of mercury increase in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide when it passes through the tissues. Similarly, if we look at the amount, carbon dioxide is about 48 ml per 100 ml of blood on the arterial side. So when it crosses the tissues, it becomes 52 ml per 100 ml. This means there is 48 and 52, there is 4 ml increase in the carbon dioxide. Both of the sides contain carbon dioxide, but the carbon dioxide on this venous side is more than that of the arterial side. Why? Why is it increased? So that will be discussed over here. There are certain phenomena because of which carbon dioxide is taken up from the tissues and that is transported to the venous side, therefore it is increased on that side. But before that, one thing more, that is pH. pH on the arterial side is 7.40. When it passes it here on the venous side, it becomes 7.36. This means the pH has been a little bit declined. When it is decreased, this means acidity is increased. So the acidity must be increased too much because a number of protons are released here when we talk about the formation of bicarbonate ion. But those protons are not left in the plasma. They are taken up by the hemoglobin. During the discussion on hemoglobin, I have told you that hemoglobin performs different functions. One is oxygen transport, another one is carbon dioxide for transport, another one is the nitric oxide transport, and another one is very important function, that is function as a buffer. It behaves as a buffer, and the buffer property is what? That is, when there is an increase in the proton concentration, it takes the protons and minimizes the acidity. Okay, if there is a decrease in proton, means increase in the pH of the blood, it do what? It releases the protons and acidity is maintained again. Okay, so this must be very decreased from 7.40, very decreased on this side, but it is not. A little slight difference is here. A very slight difference, 7.4 and 7.36, only about 0.04 different is there. 0.04 pH decrease is there. Okay, so why so much little decrease is here? This is because of the buffer property of the hemoglobin. So again, a very important question have to be noted, that the pH value in the arterial side of the blood, that is 7.4, while in the venous side the blood contains a pH of 7.36. So this is another question which is very important. So over here, if you people look at the situation, what happens here? What happens here? There is an increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide or in the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide going from the arterial side to the venous side. How this increase takes place? If you look at the partial pressure, there is a what we can say, there is a 6 millimeter of mercury increase, 40 and 46. And if we look at the amount of carbon dioxide, so there is a 4 millimeter of carbon dioxide increased on this side. So how this increase takes place? Basically, this increase takes place because of the picking up of the carbon dioxide from the tissues by the blood. From the tissues by the blood. The carbon dioxide here what happens? Glucose is oxidized to form carbon dioxide plus water, and along with that energy is released. That energy is utilized by the muscles, say for example this muscle, by the muscles or by other tissues of the body. Okay, so the energy is used, and as a result carbon dioxide is released. And this carbon dioxide, what happens here, this carbon dioxide is very toxic. This carbon dioxide forms carbonic acid, as a result of which acidity is increased, and that acidic nature is dangerous for the tissues. So this carbon dioxide must be removed from the muscles or tissues to the blood, and that have to be expelled from the body. How this takes place? There are three main ways. The carbon dioxide is transported, transport of carbon dioxide. Now the carbon dioxide is transported as bicarbonate ion, as carbaminohemoglobin. This is not carboxyhemoglobin. This is the point. Now this is the time where we must clear that the carbaminohemoglobin must not be confused with the carboxyhemoglobin. Even in your text is also the word carboxyhemoglobin used. Carboxyhemoglobin is something else. Students, remember, carboxyhemoglobin is that kind of hemoglobin to which carbon monoxide is added. When there is a lot of carbon monoxide being inhaled or produced in the body, then carbon monoxide is taken by the hemoglobin. When the carbon monoxide is added to the hemoglobin, it becomes carboxyhemoglobin. But here we are talking about the carbon dioxide. If the carbon dioxide is taken by the hemoglobin, it is attached to an amino group of the hemoglobin. Therefore, it is called carbaminohemoglobin. How that takes place, we will discuss it. And the third portion, that is transported in the form of dissolved carbon dioxide in plasma. So these are the three ways through which the carbon dioxide is transported. Usually what happens, about 70% of the carbon dioxide is shifted as bicarbonate. Okay. Similarly, about 23% is shifted as carbaminohemoglobin, and about 7% that is transported in the form of dissolved carbon dioxide in plasma. Okay, sometimes the values are changed, but these are the values which are given in your text. Sometimes it is said that the carbon dioxide in the form of bicarbonate is about 90%. It is about 90%. And in the form of carbaminohemoglobin, the carbon dioxide transport is about 5 to 7%. That is 5 to 7%. And in the form and dissolved form, the carbon dioxide, that is 3 to 5%. So other views shows the percentage in this way, but your text is 70% as bicarbonate, 23% as carbaminohemoglobin, and 7% in dissolved form. Okay, so this is about the percentages which have been shown in your text and in other views. You can follow your textbook. That must be good for you people. Okay, now we are going to talk about the transport of carbon dioxide as bicarbonate. So over here, a few people, another very important thing, I have mentioned here, 250 ml of oxygen is taken per minute. In each minute, the tissues take 250 ml of oxygen. But in that minute, only 200 ml of carbon dioxide is produced. Why is it 250 here and 200 here? There is a difference of 50. 250 minus 200, there is a difference of 50. So why there is a difference of 50? Why 250 is taken and only 200 carbon dioxide is produced? So in this very equation, in this very reaction, if you look at the reaction, the glucose is oxidized by the oxygen. That oxygen, some of the oxygen is produced in the form of carbon dioxide, while the rest of the oxygen is taken in the form of water. It is given in the form of water. So this means that 250 ml of oxygen which is taken per minute must not be released in the form of carbon dioxide. Whole of the oxygen is not released. Here what happens, 200 is released there and 50 is released in some form else, okay, some other form. So therefore it is another very important question which have to be noted by you people. Per minute, in each minute 250 ml of oxygen is taken and In that manner 200 carbon dioxide ml that has been produced. Okay, now here the transport of oxygen is bicarbonate. What happens here basically? Over here the carbon dioxide reacts with water molecule. The carbon dioxide reacts with the water molecule. It results in the formation of H2CO3 in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme. This is a very fast enzyme, speedy enzyme, and it speed up the reaction 5,000 times. Another objective which have to be noted: the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, when is used, it catalyzes this reaction. It enhances the speed of the reaction 5,000 times. It enhances the reaction 5,000 times. As a result of this reaction, carbonic acid is formed. This carbonic acid in solution form, all the acids split. When they split, they give proton. So as a result of which it forms H plus HCO3 minus. Okay, so over here, if this is the carbon dioxide produced, that is 200 ml per minute. This carbon dioxide must be diffused into the blood, and in the blood, what would happen? Look at this is for example the blood. Inside the blood, this is the red blood cell and this is the plasma. Okay, you can imagine this is the plasma of the blood and this is the RBC of the blood. Inside the RBC, what happens? If the carbon dioxide comes here comes from here, this is that carbon dioxide which comes here. It is entered into the RBC. Inside this RBC, this carbon dioxide reacts with the water. It reacts with the water to form H2CO3, which splits into NH positive and HCO3 minus. Bicarbonate ion is formed. So here a very important thing have to be noted by you people. The wall of the RBC contain a special channel protein, through which the bicarbonate is released out into the plasma. Okay, so if this bicarbonate is released, there must be a decrease of the negative charge inside. So that is compensated by the chloride. Ions. The chloride ion in return comes in. So here what happens? The bicarbonate goes out and chloride ion comes in. This is a special phenomena which is called as chloride shift. This is called as chloride shift or Hamburger phenomena. Hamburger's phenomena which have been mentioned in your textbook. The chloride shift may also be called as Hamburger's phenomena. This is called as Hamburger's phenomena. And the kind of protein which is involved here in this shift, in this chloride shift, that is called as band 3. That is called as band 3 protein. So these are different kind of objectives for you people that can be used and that will help you people in next oncoming exams. So what happens here? The bicarbonate is released into the plasma, and in this form, in the form of this bicarbonate, the carbon dioxide is transported to the lungs. Okay, this is one of the forms of the carbon dioxide. That is as bicarbonate. Second one is the carbaminohemoglobin, not carboxyhemoglobin. What happens here? I have discussed hemoglobin in very detail. You have to consult that that lecture. So in that lecture, you would study that the heme part of the hemoglobin contain a certain iron to which the globin part, means the protein part, is attached. Okay, so this hemoglobin contains what? The formation of hemoglobin. This hemoglobin HB, if we talk about this hemoglobin contains a special kind of amino acid which is called as histidine. There are further two kinds of histidine. One is proximal histidine and one is above the heme part which is attached to the oxygen, and that is called as distal histidine. So there are two kinds of histidine, proximal and distal histidine, but we must not be going into so much detail. That is not necessary for you people. You will go to study it in the medical field, inshallah. Okay, so the hemoglobin contain histidine. I think you people must remember that you must have studied it in the class first year, that all the amino acid contains a central carbon which is called as alpha carbon. To this carbon on one side NH2 amino group is attached. On the other side there is NR, and on the other side there is COOH, and here is H. This NH2 combines, reacts with the carbon dioxide. This is what carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide, when it reacts with it, I will take this portion. Okay, when it reacts, so it forms what? NH, NCOO, HR. Sometimes it is released, so it is in negative form. So the carbon dioxide is reacted, that is attached to the amino group of histidine of the hemoglobin. This means carbon dioxide is attached to the histidine of the hemoglobin. So here what happened? Carbon dioxide is attached to amino group of the hemoglobin. So it becomes what? Carbamino hemoglobin. Carbamino hemoglobin. So it becomes what? Carbamino hemoglobin. So in this way carbamino hemoglobin is formed. But I have told you, you must not confuse carbamino hemoglobin with carboxyhemoglobin, because carbamino hemoglobin is the result of attachment of carbon dioxide with hemoglobin, but carboxyhemoglobin is the result of attachment of carbon monoxide to the hemoglobin, and carboxyhemoglobin formation is very dangerous for the body. Even it is hemolytic, it causes hemolysis. Okay, so that is very dangerous one. So the concentration of carbon monoxide is too much dangerous, even than the concentration of carbon dioxide. So carbamino, second one is the carbamino hemoglobin. Okay, carbamino hemoglobin is formed here. Now what happens to the carbamino hemoglobin? In this carbamino hemoglobin, here, say for example, this is the hemoglobin which has oxygen. This is the hemoglobin which has oxygen, to which the carbon dioxide must be added. Now this hemoglobin also contains, this is a long chain. This is, for example, hemoglobin, it is a long chain. So this chain contains negative charges on different amino acids. So the proton which is produced here during the formation of bicarbonate, protons are produced. If this proton is left as such in the plasma, it will decrease the pH too much, and the acidity will be increased very much. So that too much increase in the acidity is also dangerous for our body. So what happens here? This increase in the concentration of proton is neutralized by the hemoglobin. The hemoglobin contains negatively charged amino acids. This hydrogen comes and is attached to these negatively charged points. When the hydrogen is attached to that negatively charged points, what happens here? As a result, the hemoglobin receives the H plus, and it becomes HHB, means the protonated hemoglobin. It is called protonated because a proton is added to the hemoglobin, and in this way this proton is taken by the hemoglobin, and therefore increase in the acidity is not taken place, or decrease in the pH does not take place. Just a very little decrease or decline in the pH, that is from 7.4 to 7.36 takes place only. Too much decrease do not takes place. Okay, so here what happens, that hydrogen which is released would be dangerous because it would produce acidity that is taken by the hemoglobin, and this is the point where I have told you, this is the point where hemoglobin behaves as a buffer. Here the hemoglobin behaves as a buffer. So what happened? Two things have been discussed. One is the formation of bicarbonate. One is the formation of bicarbonate in the plasma, in the red blood cells, and then it comes into the plasma. Okay. Another one is the formation of protonated hemoglobin. The protonated hemoglobin, and this protonated hemoglobin, keep it in mind, this protonated hemoglobin, I have told you in the previous lecture that if the bus contain 4 oxygen molecule and 4 seats, so if you want to take another person who wants to get in, what would happen? He will get in and a molecule of oxygen will be released. So I have told you that the taking up of the carbon dioxide and the proton by the hemoglobin, taking of the carbon dioxide and the proton by the hemoglobin, it do what? It decreases the affinity of hemoglobin for the present oxygens. So what would happen when the carbon dioxide is taken to form the carbamino hemoglobin, and when the proton is taken by the hemoglobin, this hemoglobin which is in oxygenated form here, this will release the oxygen. Oxygen molecules will be released here. This release of oxygen, do what? This oxygen will be given to the tissues and carbon dioxide is taken. I have told you that this is called as Bohr's effect. We will discuss in a separate video, inshallah. I am going to make a separate video. Okay, the third part, the third form in which the carbon dioxide is shifted, that is dissolved form. Carbon dioxide, keep it in mind, this is here we have 48 ml of the carbon dioxide in blood, and it becomes 52 ml of carbon dioxide when the carbon dioxide comes here. So what happens? A lot of carbon dioxide is dissolved. Okay, another very important thing, that is the carbon dioxide is dissolved, but some portion of that, about 7% of the carbon dioxide is dissolved, not total carbon dioxide. Why? Why the total? Another question. Why total carbon dioxide is not dissolved? Because the dissolution of total carbon dioxide in plasma, that needs very high pressure, and that pressure is not available in our blood. Okay, so therefore whole of the carbon dioxide is not dissolved. Some of the carbon dioxide is dissolved, means about 7% is dissolved in the blood plasma, that is dissolved in the blood plasma. So now here if you see, the carbon dioxide in the blood is available in the form of bicarbonate ion 70%, 23% in the form of carbamino hemoglobin,